struggles for reals. Sorry, it unshared me. There we go. Okay, what a life we lead. There we are, there I am. Just so you remember, I'm a person. Okay, so we have kind of just some quiz assessment, whatever you want to call it, review. So there's some basic stuff like finding a slope. We know how to find slope, so I'm not going to do that one with you. There's a little bit of graphing, so I do want to remind you some stuff with graphing. Oh, and then there's just some solving stuff that I want to make sure we're good with. Now, I do want to look at number 2. 2 and 3 are similar, and there is going to be 1 or 2 of these on your assessment. So I just want to make sure you feel comfortable because it's been a while since we've done them. So it says, find the value of x or y, depending on what the problem is, so that the line through the points has the given slope. So when you see a problem like this, you are going to be using slope formula. Giving myself not a raw from here. So I'm going to use the formula m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So that's the formula I'm using if you see a problem like this. I'm just going to do 2. You guys are going to try 3 in a minute. I guess I will do 2, but you guys can try 3 as well. For 2, I'm going to take my points and plug them in for x1, y1, x2, y2. So if I say this is x1 and y1, and then x2 and y2, we're going to throw those babies in. So that would be 4 minus negative 8, so y2 minus y1, over x2 minus x1. I'm just going to simplify that kind of while I'm here, because 4 minus negative 8 gives me 12 over 2 minus x, and that's equal to the slope, and the slope is undefined. Just as a reminder of what undefined means, it means you're talking about a vertical line. Okay? If you could see it, that would be even better. So we've talked a little bit about vertical lines. We're going to do a lot more after this assessment. And we have like a whole day or 2 on vertical and horizontal lines. But the one thing we've talked about is a vertical line is undefined, and something is undefined when the denominator is 0, because you can't divide by 0, that's why it's undefined. So I'm just going to say a number over 0 is the slope. It doesn't matter the number, it could be 27 over 0, 19 over 0, negative 32 over 0, they're all going to be undefined. So the main thing that we're focusing on for this one is that our denominator is equal to 0 when my answer is undefined. So if I say 2 minus x equals 0, I can just solve for x. And it comes out to be 2, which makes sense because 2 minus 2 is 0. So that one's a little tricky in the fact that you just set it equal to undefined. I don't know what the heck to do from there. And in that case, if something's undefined, the denominator is 0, so just as a heads up. So I'm going to set out the other one with you just to show you what to do, because that one has an actual slope. So y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. I like to kind of simplify this first just to make it a little bit nicer looking. So that's 7 minus y over, what's negative 5 plus 9, that would be over 4. So now that that's simplified, we set it equal to the slope. What a beauty. So I have this nice equation here. This one I can actually solve because it doesn't say undefined. So my hint to you, because you are going to do this in a few minutes, is this is a proportion. So my hint is cross multiply to solve. So once again, if you don't have this printed, that's okay. You can just write these in your notebook. In a few minutes, once we've gone over a few, you guys are going to do the odds. So you're going to do 1, you're going to finish 3, you're going to do 5. So you can do those in your notebook, but for now, I would at least write it down so you had it. So when you start that one, if you have the idea. Okay, so that was kind of, we throw in with slope, but it's been a while. So I just wanted to remind you of that. And then we did a whole bunch of graphing. So I'm going to do the even ones. So once again, I'm kind of looking at these. We have all sorts of different setups here. This first one is slope-intercept form. So when I think, I kind of always look and say like, what form is it in? That's y equals mx. If there's no b, you can just write plus 0. This is a reminder. To graph a line in slope-intercept form, you start at the intercept, which is 0. We actually call this, it's a special case called direct variation as opposed to the origin. And then from here, we're just going to do rise over run. We're going to rise 3, run 4. Once you have 2 points, you have a line. I'm going to be lazy because I don't feel like getting my ruler out, so I'm just going to kind of make up the idea. I have a nice line. We put arrows on the end because lines are infinite, and that would be kind of that. So those ones aren't too bad. But let's look at 6, because 6, I'm like, what the heck is going on? I don't even know what form that's in. It's not even in a form, right? So you do need to be familiar with your forms and know what they are and recognize them. But that's definitely not slope-intercept. It's definitely not point slope, and that's not standard either because x and y aren't even together. So if you see something that's just not in a form, just put it in a form. So the main goal is if something's not what you want it to be, you rearrange it, you move things around. So in this case, you decide the form. I'm going to say for number 6, I'm going to put it in slope-intercept. Because for slope-intercept, I just need to get y by itself, because I need y equals. That won't be too bad. So I can divide everything by 2. And I'm just going to write it as y equals, because it doesn't matter if it's on the right or the left. And if I divide everything here by 2, I would get 8x minus 5. With that, just that one step, that made that way more manageable. So once again, if it's something you do not recognize, you put it into a form that you do recognize by just moving things around. I would start at -5. I'm going to rise 8, run 1 for the top, because right, we always make that a fraction, 8 over 1. I'm going to do my best once again to kind of sketcheroo. And lines are infinite, so we do put arrows. So that's that, my friends. So a little bit of graphing. The assessment is not going to be graph heavy, so there might be like a few, maybe like 2 or 3 total. Nothing crazy. So the main thing is recognize what form it's in, because then that kind of tells you the important information. If it's not in a form, you would rearrange it. I'm not going to give you anything too tricky, and go from there. So remember point slope, you know what point's in the slope. Slope intercept, you know the slope and an intercept. In standard form, I usually just find the intercepts, right? You can just cover one to find the other, or you can just rearrange it. So just as a heads up, we'll just do those ones quick. So the back is where we got the good stuff, guys. That's all the writing equations, which I feel like we've been working on the most. So you can see we have a slope-intercept. Slope-intercept. Please know the names. You need to know when you see the word slope-intercept, it's y equals mx plus b. The worst thing that happens is if you mess your names up and then you're writing everything in the wrong form. It's a big old mess. Standard form is ax plus by equals c, so it might even be of use to you to kind of label that stuff as you're going along. Okay, Mrs. Sherman has officially lost her mind. I was looking at the wrong thing, so I'm telling you everything incorrectly in that bag. No one even fixed it, guys. Please tell me if I'm being crazy. I was looking here, but reading there. I'm sorry, the first one is point slope form. That's y minus y1 equals m parentheses x minus x1. And that slope intercept is y equals mx plus b. Sorry, I was trying to write based off of what I was looking at on the screen, not on my paper. I'm going crazy. Standard is ax plus by equals c. Okay, that makes more sense. Nutty. And then another standard, and some slope intercept. Okay, so let's go through. Which one do we want to do? I feel like we just did a standard. Point slope screen. Which one should I do? Because we're doing. Okay, that's actually fine. So I'll stick with the evens. Number 8, point slope. Big fan of point slope. It's my favorite. Find the slope first. Y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Double negative turns to a positive, so negative 4 plus 5 gives me 1 over 2. Okay, that's my slope. The reason I like it is because I'm kind of done. I just need to fill in now. Pick either point. I'll pick the first one. If you pick the second one, you're good. So it would be y plus 5 equals 1/2 x minus 0. Or you could pick the second one if you so please. So number 9 says write in slope intercept. So you guys are gonna try that one. Reminder for slope intercept, there's kind of a few ways you can do it. I'm a big point slope and then rearrange. Some people like to plug in x, y, and and find b. So either way, it's good with me. Let's do another standard form, baby. So find the slope, right? Always, pretty much always our first step. Y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. What's that gonna give me? That's a plus, negative 2 plus 4 is 2. Negative 1 minus 5 is negative 6, and that would reduce to negative 1/3. But I'm thinking, oh, standard, what a pain in the butt. But, okay, I'll slow down, sorry, I got into it. I'm always happy to slow down. Here, you can see the other one too. So let me just kind of talk through if people are catching up. So number 8, point slope. You literally just find the slope and then you use point. So I always like those ones. You guys are gonna try 9 in a few minutes. For slope intercept, that's y equals mx plus b. I like to put it in point slope and rearrange it, or you could just use an x, a y, and an m to find b. Just make sure you actually write the equation. So we'll check that one later, but you guys will try it and just see how you're feeling. That's y equals mx plus b. We're in a standard form one, and we had just done this for the warm up. So just as a reminder, standard form is always the one you like kind of dread, but it's just life, there's always the one thing that annoys you. So what you're always gonna do first is find your slope. No matter what the problem is, you're always gonna find your slope first. So that's what we just did. Y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Just be careful with positives, negatives. Please make sure if you get a fraction answer, it is reduced. So in that case, I got 2 over negative 6, which would reduce to negative 1/3. And at this point, I'm saying to myself, oh, okay. So standard form, once again, is kind of annoying just because you can't plug into it. So I'm gonna use point slope and then rearrange it. I'll go with the first points, doesn't really matter. So y minus y1, so I'm gonna make that plus 4, right? Because it would be minus negative 4, equals negative 1/3, and then parentheses, x minus 5. Okay? So now we have to kind of start moving stuff around. Y plus 4 equals, I'm gonna distribute it in here. And I get negative 1/3 x. 2 negatives would make a plus 5/3. So now I'm thinking, well, standard form, I need to get x and y together, so let's move this x over here. And I do need to move this 4, sorry, my hand's in the way. So this 4, I need the constants to go over here, so I'm gonna subtract 4. All right, so let's see what we get. I'll kind of write it over here. I have 1/3 x plus y equals, now you have to do this. I know this is getting wild and crazy here. You're gonna have to do 5/3 minus 4. I don't know what it is, I'm gonna get my calculator. Or you could just find a common denominator and subtract them. You guys can do that, I have faith. 5/3 minus 4 gives me negative 7/3. Okay, so I get to this point, oops, sorry, my face is in the way. And I'm saying, okay, everything's in the order that it needs to be, right? There's an x, there's a y, there's an equal, a constant. But we had some rules, and the rules were the first term can't be negative, so we're good with that rule. It's positive, so you're all set. And the rule was no fractions. So what we're gonna do to get rid of those fractions is multiply everything by the common denominator. In this case, it would just be 3. And when I multiply n by 3, I would get x plus 3y equals -7. Whatever you be. So depending on the problem, I'm not gonna give you all problems where you have to, rearrange a million times and then have all fractions, like that's annoying, I agree, but you will see a little bit of that. But some of them will just be a little bit more basic. If nothing else on an assessment, one, you're at home, yes. On an assessment, you just do what you can, but you do something, so never skip problems. You gotta show me that you're doing something at home there. But just do your best to use your knowledge, and get to where you need to be. Alright, so once again, I'm doing even, so I'm gonna skip down to 12 and then do 14, and then you guys are gonna have some time to do the odds. Beep. So number 12 just says write the slope-intercept form, so the first thing I think is y equals mx plus b of the equation of the line. This should be pretty easy, because the slope-intercept form, I can just look. This is the y-intercept, it's -4, right? So that's b. And then for the slope, I'm just gonna count rise over run between 2 points. So just make sure they're exact points. So it looks like there's one here and one here. So as I count, I'm gonna go up 1, 2, 3 over 1, 2. So my equation would be y equals 3 over 2x minus 4. Once again, I'm getting the 3 over 2 from just finding 2 points. Just make sure, that's not an exact point, it's kind of in between. So you need to make sure they're exact points. So I found 2 exact points that I went through, and I just counted. Rise was 1, 2, 3. Run was 1, 2. So that's where 3 over 2 came from. And then the y-intercept, I literally just looked and saw where it went through the y-axis, and that was at -4. So that's where those numbers came from. So you should be able to read graphs as well, just as a heads up. And last but not least, I'm gonna do 14. 14 says write the standard form of the line. Good old standard form keeps popping back up. I think she knows. I just want x and y on the same side. So it doesn't really matter if you go, bring them right or left. So if x is here, I'm just gonna bring y over there. Right, I can always rewrite it if I need to. -4 equals, -3x plus 2y. If you wanna just write it as -3x plus 2y equals -4, go for it. It doesn't really matter, right? If two things are equal, it doesn't matter which side they're on. But what we do need to recognize is that x is negative, which we don't want. We want that to be positive, so everything would get multiplied by -1. And my final answer would be 3x minus 2y equals 4. There you go. So it was pretty quick. The main idea of life is once you feel comfortable with one form, you can really make it into any other form that you need. So please just be aware of what information you're given, what form might be easiest to plug it in, even if it's not the form that it's being asked for. You can always plug it in and rearrange. And then just kind of knowing the other basic stuff, like how to find slope, how to read a graph, just how to get important information, and you should be good. So, we have about 15 minutes left in class. In those 15 minutes, you guys are working on the odd numbers. So here's the deal. You are staying on our meet. I'm just gonna escape out of here. Hold on, sorry. This is my 18 step. No. Okay.